Many project managers aim to work internationally. And when I say internationally, of course, they can move abroad, but they can also work with international teams, working in international projects. And this is absolutely very exciting and an excellent way of moving to this different experience. However, you need to be mindful of three things when you plan and aim to work internationally. The first one is language. In an international environment, English is key. And being honest with you, for me, it was a massive challenge because I really wanted to, I would say, open my career to operate internationally. And even today, I struggle to speak English because I didn't have the chance to learn when I was a child. And language, it's not very easy for you to learn when you get older. But the best thing you can do for you is to start now. Of course, maybe the best day would be 20 years ago, but you cannot go back in time, okay? So you need to start today. And English for me is absolutely the key because English, no matter where you operate, it's the language. For example, when I was at the UN or Brightline, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to another Brazilian where the language is Brazilian Portuguese, we were always talking in English. Every single email, every single slide deck, every single presentation. So English is really key. So if you are not fluent, this makes your progress on international work far more challenging. I know that you may say, but technology is replacing this. Google Translate, this software like Grammarly or sites like Grammarly can correct your grammar. QuickBot can prepare your text. Yes, but you cannot live with that forever. You cannot do a meeting and doing the translation. Maybe these tools will evolve in such a dramatic way that these will not be a problem anymore. But today, at this present moment, language is a big thing. Language is a big thing. Of course, English. If you are hearing this course and you are already a native speaker of English, you're already very lucky because this is very good. But then what else? Will you learn Spanish? Will you learn French? You learn Chinese? This is a very critical thing. And another advice, and this is more for, I would say, the more senior ones, is that if you have children that are starting their careers, please be mindful that language takes time and it's critically important in an international arena. The second thing is cultural awareness. This is so critical. And I will speak about that in the CV and interview. You need to understand that operates around your city is one thing. Operating globally is a very different thing because things that in your community are normal can be extremely offensive in other places in the world. And I'm not saying that when you operate and work internationally, you need to, I would say, stop being yourself and trying to not be, I would say, polemic in anything. No, you can absolutely agree or disagree, but you need to respect the differences. And this kind of experience brings a lot of value. And I was again fortunate when I was at the UN to have the chance to meet so many people, so many countries, so many cultures, so many, that I learned it. It was for me a massive experience. So when you had the chance to operate in an international environment, take this as a gift that your organization is giving to you. To learn not only project management, not only how to deliver, but to learn these cultural aspects because every single international company, every single multinational, large multinational, will give a massive value to that type of experience. If you tell me, okay, I'm working in IT, I still want to work in IT, as we saw on the other slide, you must be mindful that if you work in an IT, in an international environment, it will bring you a far more rich environment than working with 4 or 5 people from your same town and the same group and with people that you grew up with. And this is what makes really some consistent messaging in your CV and in your career. And last but not least, and this is something that honestly, it's not very easy to control, is that with the world becoming more and more global, you need to be mindful that many times for you to work international, you need to have visas, you need to have permissions to do that. So if this is your plan, you really need, mostly for the junior and the PMs, you need really to look for options. I have friends that move to Canada, to Australia. You really need to look to find ways of getting it, because maybe you have all the competencies, but if you don't create the conditions for you to immigrate, for example, if it's your intention is to live international, it will become very hard. So remember, this third option is only if you really want to relocate yourself. You can be an expat for your company, but if you really truly want to be international, you need to have conditions or qualifications to operate in these different countries, and these may require visa. And with the current environment we are living in, visas are becoming more and more scarce, and they only exist for very high qualified professionals in very specific roles. So always be mindful of that. One final topic about international work, and I started this lesson with that. Be always mindful of one thing. With technology, with everything that the pandemic brought to us, there are more and more chances for you to work internationally without needing to move abroad. So you operate, you may work and collaborate with Chinese people, with German people, with Brazilian people, with Canadian people, all at the same time, without necessarily leaving your home country, like for example, India. So this is also a great point, and you need to highlight that. I will talk about CV very soon. You need to be mindful that this is something you need to highlight. If you had this experience working internationally, you need to highlight it as much as you can.